The following parody video is entirely AI voiced, but written by some dweeby Yu-Gi-Oh fan. Please support the official release.
Now let's get things started. And I think the first structure deck on this list is Dragon's Roar. One I think you both appreciate.
I see we're starting off by making jokes that I like dragons, and that's the biggest compliment I'll pay you here. No, this structure deck was mid-trash. Red Eye's Darkness Dragon is not only a pale imitation of my Shining Dragon, but you only get one! This deck just wants to do nothing but dump dragons into the grave to power up Red Eyes. But if you never draw it, good luck getting the deck to work.
Okay, rich boy, but let's talk about what it's got going for it. Pot of Greed. Reckless Greed, that's your draw power. Reload for the bad hands. Dragon's Rage, all your monsters are gonna be piercing. If you got something you can't punch over, you got Snatch Steel to take it, sack it, and turn it into one of your big guns. I think it's an easy S tier.
If you can't punch over, well, Wheeler, just like you, 2400 is just not enough to get the job done. And unless you get your boss monster out, with limited protection mind you, someone is going to play a Sakuretsu armor on you, and you'll eat shit. Or Lightning Vortex. For a deck that revolves around making a big dragon, this deck sure is bad at defending it. D tier, much like the Duelist defending it.
That's low, man.
Unfortunately, I agree mostly with Kaiba, though he is underselling a few strategic combos. Creature swap into Masked Dragon. You get your opponent's monster and just summon another to your field. An additional option to punch over, as it were in addition to Snatch Steel. And if you do get a bad hand, you have cards like Swords of Revealing Light, Masked Dragon, and Twin-Headed Behemoth to help stall. And if I could turn your attention to MST, Stamping Destruction, Trap Jammer, and the Dragon's Bead, you have plenty of options to keep Darkness Dragon around.
And if I could direct your attention to Ceasefire, the two interdimensional matter transporters, and Graveyard from the fourth dimension to your attention, you'll see why it looked like Wheeler built this deck. There's only 4 level monsters in the deck, and you want them in the graveyard for the fragile boss monster. Tell me, how many duelists do you think have won the game because of Ceasefire? Let's think about this for more than 2 seconds, dweebs. Lightning Vortex was running rampant at this time. You're not going to want to play this while you're on the defensive at risk of your monsters being exploded, and Masked Dragon wants to die by battle, not effect. Using it on the offensive is going to be weak too. If you are somehow punching over your opponent with weak 2400s, then they're going to have 1 face down at best. Maybe 2 in a pinch if their mommy bought them a booster pack and they got double summon. Oh boy. A trap card that'll deal 1500 damage at best. You may as well play Alligator Sword.
I just noticed there were not 1, but 2 creature swaps. That'll have to raise the ranking by 1. But seriously, it has a sound strategy, but was poorly thought out in the end. Can we agree that Dragon's Roar is C tier?
Duh! Can it be B tier at least?
Maybe if they had decided to base this structure deck around a more powerful, worthwhile dragon.
No, I think C tier is fair, Joey. We do have to set our biases aside.
Why do I get the feeling the first Magician structure deck is getting an S from you?
Can it, dweebs? We're moving on to Zombie Madness.
I'm not a fan of this one.
You have 2 seconds to start explaining, Wheeler.
This deck doesn't really want your opponent to play the game. I mean, look, Vampire Lord, Vampire Lady, discard deck to graveyard, compulsory evacuation device at count 'em 3, torrential tribute. Like I ain't here to play solitaire, man. And look at that boss monster. You have to banish your guy that can revive himself for a 3000 that can sometimes summon dudes if you drew high-level dudes. It's not great. See to ya.
Short-sighted and narrow-minded, Joey. I expected better. This deck has plenty of twists and turns to keep your opponent guessing. Spirit Reaper can't be destroyed by battle. Vampire Lord and Lady can weaken your opponent's deck if you catch on to their strategy. Despair from the Dark is great if you get hit by Delinquent Duo or card destruction. And plenty of monster removal options. I think this is an A tier deck.
Yugi is right. You are short-sighted. But before I explain why, can we all just agree it's a little weird that Call of the Haunted isn't in this deck?
Huh, that is strange.
Bones must have threw a fit.
No matter, this deck is an improvement over Dragon's Roar, Wheeler, and I'm not surprised you can't see why. First of all, the control in this deck is far superior. Pyramid Turtle was one of the best searchers in the game. 2000 defense being its requirement allows you to pull several hard hitters out with little effort. Just one wrong move, and this deck summons a 2400 attack monster with 2000 defense, and it doesn't need a specific card to do it. And it has a good effect too. This deck just has an easier time getting bigger monsters out onto the field than Dragon's Roar. Sure, the boss monster is pathetic, but the rest of the deck does Dragon's Roar's job far better than it does. A tier.
Think that's a solid case for it to remain A tier. Unless you've a stronger counterpoint, Joey.
Sure, Regenerating Mummy is weak as and the deck has two.
Dragon's Roar should really be called Dragon's Whimper, because that's all you'll hear from anyone who plays it.
Kaiba, you've made your point. Let's move on now to Blaze of Destruction.
Why don't, you start this one off, Yugi?
This deck is difficult to place. It's a fire deck that very much wants to burn you.
Ha 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 ha, I get it.
Right. Anyway, we see some interesting deviations. Some staples return, but some standouts are level limit. Area B, the attack boosting cards, and the burn cards. Just seems like it's inevitable you take damage from this deck every turn you fight it. Battle. Burn. You'll be paying with your life points somehow, and it can perform the solar flare lock if your opponent isn't careful, but it has less options to steal your opponent's monsters. Confusingly, this deck has both Tribute to the Doomed and Call of the Haunted. I'll give it B tier.
This ain't a solid deck, Yugi. Sorry, none of this burn is really heavy burn. Its draw power is weaker than to others. Meteor of Destruction is like dead late in the game. And UFO Turtle just, well, it only has a couple of good hits. And I'm gonna say it, this Flame Emperor, he's gonna die to so many traps it ain't funny. Your opponent has no reason to hold them when you're gonna blow them all up. And look, he can't be special summoned for some reason, and his only 2700 attack at LV9 with 1600 defense, I could kick his ass. This deck is CT-ya, sorry.
Once again, you clowns miss the obvious. While it has a few options to help control the pace of the duel, they're rather weak. You only have one Raging Flame sprite to abuse under level limit, and if they die, that option is gone. This deck heavily relies on its field spell to be even remotely relevant. And I can't believe I'm agreeing with Wheeler, but this burn isn't strong enough even in the slower-paced days. This deck is going to have trouble keeping monsters on the field. One solidly timed lightning vortex and this deck is done. Spell Shield might save it, but the strategy is still on the weaker side. Throw this trash in D where it belongs.
We'll put it in C tier then, even if I do think you're both ignoring some strong combos.
You're right, Yugi. I can't believe I overlooked the power of the Molten Zombie and Premature Burial/Call of the Haunted combo. That'll really show 'em.
2 whole cards! It's like they have a second pot of greed. You're right, Wheeler. We better listen to Yugi.
Yeah! Actually, on second thought, don't like that we just agreed.
Yes, let's never do that again.
If you two are done, it's time to cast our gaze to Fury from the Deep.
Oh, fuck. Fury from the Deep? When Pegasus finally pulled his head out of his ass and released a good structure deck?
That one, yes.
I have no problem starting. This deck had it all. A sound strategy, a strong field spell, Mobius, Neo Daedalus. The level 4s could match Legion in combat. It has so many ways to get its good monsters out, and its boss is actually cracked. S tier.
It's hard for me to find flaws with this one. Gravity Bind is whack, but I think Legendary Ocean solves a lot of its problems. It's got a lot of ways to get its big monsters out easily. I'll give it A tier.
Let's talk about some combos. Legendary Ocean paired with Tornado Wall. Your opponent is going to struggle to deal damage to you in places they normally would. Plenty of ways to remove big monsters from the field with Hammer Shot and Torrential Tribute. My old favorite Snatch Steal even makes an appearance. It's everything for a king of games to love. You even have potential ways to stall your opponent out if Fenrir destroys a monster by battle. No draw phase for you. I bet Mako Tsunami was kicking himself after he saw Pegasus release this structure deck.
He was kicking himself after he lost his dad to me.
His what?
Yeah, you know, Legendary Fisherman. The card was a stand-in for his dad. He lost it to me in Battle City.
Top 10 most pathetic things I've heard in my life.
Hey man, be cool, dude lost his dad.
What a coincidence. So did I. You don't see me trying to throw a surrogate into my deck.
Oh, huh. I always thought that's what the clowns were there for.
You think you're funny, Wheeler?
Yeah, I think I am.
Anyone objecting to Fury from the Deep in S tier?
No, but I'm about 2 seconds away from humiliating Wheeler with one of these structure
Bring
decks.
it on, rich boy. I picked Zombie Madness for you to play, since your career ate shit and died in Battle City. Then you went mad bitching about it.
You want to get poetic, do you? Try this haiku.
Bless you.
Fuck Joey Wheeler. He managed to lose to Siegfried. Man was a free win.
And then the King of Games declared they were discussing Warrior's triumph. Focus now.
Oh, hell yeah!
A dweeb deck for dweeb players.
Since I know you're lacking the warrior spirit, rich boy, let me educate you on how this deck works.
Wheeler, I've seen your deck. You're not qualified to educate deck building.
Ha ha! That's funny. Almost as funny as the crazy shit this deck can pull. When Pegasus released this one, it opened my eyes. Gearfried equipped with Blast with Chain. Hello, instant monster destruction. We got Gearfried the Swordmaster too. This deck had 2 boss monsters. Then look at all the crazy equips this deck comes with. Guilford the Legend can pull them right back out of the graveyard. Mataza the Zappa can't be stolen from you. This deck even has a built-in Jinzo to get rid of traps with Royal Decree. This deck has power. Stay in power too. Easy S tier.
Gearfried turns into Gearfeed rather quickly, Wheeler. That Swordmaster isn't going to be impressing anyone if he never hits the field. Or enjoy the nice brick sandwich that is Release Restraint and the actual Swordmaster. Guilford is apparently a legend, but he's one of the worst cards to equip these cards to when you have so many better options. And look, you can't special summon him, and he requires plenty of equip cards in the grave to make him worth the summon. Tell me, dweebs, does this deck look like it'll last very long? So many of its magic cards are spent just trying to make their weak monsters stronger. Do you think your one magic jammer and Royal Decree is going to save you? Plenty of cards in this deck just get in the other's way. Hope you didn't draw Swift Gaia next to Guilford or Swordmaster Gearfried, because his effect is dead unless you can find a way to summon or discard either of them. Heavy Storm has a good chance of hurting you unless you have that one fusion sword equipped. Throw this deck in the D tier.
Imagine my surprise. Kaiba can't see a good combo, even if his blue eyes was shoving it in his face. You underestimate plenty of this deck. The simple combos in this deck are quite effective. Lightning Blade and Fusion Sword can turn even an 1800 into a 2600. Mystic Swordsman level 4 will become a monster that you fall to its 2700 attack or its powerful effect. DD Warrior Lady can remove even monsters that can't be destroyed by battle. It has the Marauding Captain Lock, which it can easily perform to stop your opponent from attacking. And between Warrior Lady of the Wasteland and Reinforcement of the Army, you have some great searching power. And I do feel it's important to note, Snatch Steal is also in this deck, but this deck foolishly did away with Creature Swap.
You really like playing like an asshole, Yugi. You know that, right?
I always duel with honor and respect, Joey.
I mean, you've also just, blatantly cheated. Or abused a loophole in the rules to win. Villain shit. We'd have mocked Merrick if he tried to infinite loop your Slifer into killing your deck. Called him a coward, probably.
That's the difference between me and Merrick. I was exploiting loopholes for my friends, so it's automatically okay.
How about you automatically rate this deck, Yugi? I'm losing my patience.
Oh, right. It's A tier. It has Obnoxious Celtic Guard and Swift Gaia the Fierce Knight in it. And everything else I said before.
We're seriously going to say that summoning a monster and equipping it with a halfway decent equip card is an A-tier combo? Are we dueling at the kindergarten level?
That sounds like pretty advanced shit for a 5-year-old. Or if your name is Seto Kaiba.
Well,
You know it doesn't belong all the way up there. If it takes advanced thought or any kind of finesse, these peasants will stumble and fall with this deck.
you make a valid point.
What the
This deck can be a
fuck,
little
Yugi?
advanced. You have to be careful and play perfectly, where Fury from the Deep doesn't require near the same type of demands. Can we be happy with
No,
B tier?
I'm not happy with this. I'll beat Rich Boy with one of these structure decks too. Pick one for me, Rich Boy.
Maybe if you can make Warrior's Triumph actually live up to its name, I'll acknowledge it's A-tier. But let's be honest, neither of you live up to your reputation. Lose, and you have to admit it's D-tier garbage.
You're on, Kaiba.
Damn it. We're not even close to done, and those two have run off to duel.
You just sound mad you weren't invited.
Guilty.
Are there any adjustments we want to make to the tier list before we continue?
I won't say Warrior's Triumph is deserving of D tier, even if I lost the duel.
That was part of the agreement.
We're probably going to have to adjust this list eventually. As good as Fury from the Deep was, many of the later decks are going to duel circles around it.
Fine, we'll leave it as is for now. Though I want to move Blaze of Destruction down into D tier.
What, 'cause Jaden?
Secondhand embarrassment damage.
I can agree to move it to D, especially considering what the next deck is.
Lead us off, Yug.
It's time, everyone, for Spellcaster's Judgment. I was really excited for this one when it came out, and while I won plenty of duels with it,
The peasants didn't.
No, they really didn't.
Hey, come on, guys, let's not go calling our fellow players peasants. That's cringe villain shit.
The boss monster looks like a cringe villain.
This guy is challenging every doorway to a duel. Look at him. Those shoulder pads, that hat, dude's probably always walking sideways.
Kaiba, I know my Dark Magician has served you an all-you-can-eat buffet of defeats, but that doesn't make a wizard get up villainous.
That would actually sting if you hadn't blatantly cheated in over half your duels. How does it feel to be Bandit Keith's role model?
If Bandit Keith is chasing the unobtainable, then he's eventually going to realize how ass he is at duel monsters, so it could be worse. Now let's talk about this deck. I was excited for it, but it's strange. It's a spellcaster burn deck at its heart. Dark Eradicator Warlock he's okay, but he does almost put the duel on a timer when he's out. Both you and your opponent can trigger his burn, so it may lead to your opponent being frozen in some situations.
You're holding a spot in your hand, on the field, for this burn effect. He doesn't even get any stronger. Let's not pretend that 2500 is much better than 2400. The odds this guy gets punched out is barely less than Wheeler here in high school.
I'm flattered you think I could punch out a dragon, rich boy.
Oh, save it.
This deck also has strong low-level monsters. Skilled Dark Magician, Apprentice Magician. Who could forget Breaker? But let's address some problems. No creature swap, no snatch steal.
Good.
You may call it playing like an asshole, but stealing an opponent's monster is a good way to deal with monsters you can't punch over or destroy. Creature swap would have been far superior to Mystic Box, much as I like it for theming. But if you can't defend your monsters, you don't deserve them. Sorry.
The deck runs pretty weak by comparison to the other structure decks, and is constantly under threat that another deck beats the shit out of any of its monsters.
Its burn is also highly unpredictable. Even if Blaze of Destruction was weak, you could bet on your monsters probably being destroyed, or your other burn options. Your mileage will also vary when it comes to the spell counters. Some of them are very good, like Skilled Dark Magician or Breaker, but others are bad. Blast Magician is going to need some heavy investment or protection to use its removal effect on anything big. While I enjoy the deck and its theme, I can't in good faith place this in anything but the B tier.
The monster removal in this deck is actually really good in terms of sheer options. Magical Dimension, for some bullshit reason, doesn't target due to tricky wording nonsense. Thanks, Pegasus. It's lucky its base monsters have some bite at 1900 attack because this deck is slow. Chaos Sorcerer is a good surprise to drop on your opponent. It's just not focused enough to be a good burn deck or powerful enough to be a beatdown deck. The whole package just lands short of completely underwhelming. C tier.
If this deck landed short of underwhelming, allow me to carry it the rest of the way. Mage Power is a good equip, but given that you want to constantly be playing magic cards for burn, it's not great. Magical Blast is a trap, in that it's a bad card. In the instances where you're fielding 5 spellcasters, you're probably winning already. This just lets you win more. But when you're in trouble, it ain't saving you. It's got an oddly high chance of bricking, too. Dark Magic Attack only works with your one and only Dark Magician. Dark Eradicator ain't doing you any favors unless you also get your Dark Magician out on the field.
I think I've proven decks can be viable with just one Dark Magician.
I think B tier is too high. You put it there for favoritism, and Kaiba still has PTSD from that diffusion wave motion defeat you dealt him so—
Can it, Wheeler? We all know Pegasus made that errata to Flute of Summoning Dragon during Battle City to screw with me.
That or it was revenge for making a new rule set, and it was a kinder errata than what he did to Brain Control.
It's a superior rule set. Everyone adopted it after Battle City.
You both rated this deck too high. I think it's D tier.
The amount of combos it has elevates it from the depths of D tier. It's not bad.
I do think it's better than Blaze of Destruction, but not by much. I think you're going to have to school me with this structure deck if you want to prove your point, Yugi.
Now, when you use that phrase, is it because you've heard it before or because public school actually bested you?
Get bent, Kaiba.
You sure about this, Joey? I'm no slouch with this deck.
I won't back down. Can't wait to see how many times you surrender on turn 3 due to bad hands.
You know I find it funny when you go, "Oh no," so I'm preparing to laugh at that again. It's a Joey staple.
There's like 30 guys that do that. You included, Yugi.
We'll see who's laughing when the dust settles.
Think this means Spellcaster's judgment is going into C, which I think is harsh. I'm not happy about it, but given our votes, that's where it goes. Above Dragon's Roar.
I didn't vote on that. No way. Dragon's Roar would thrash that deck.
Spellcaster's judgment. They sentence you to die. Eventually.
Moving on to Invincible Fortress.
Bah!
Gross.
Sure is salty in here.
All right, let me admit something. The deck ain't bad, but I don't like it. I think it's just designed to be frustrating to fight. It's slow. So slow. But unlike the Spellcaster deck, it's designed to fight at this old man's pace. And I think I'd be about 80 years old after 5 duels against this deck. It also doesn't want your opponent playing the game. Double ordeal of a traveler, which is excessive, by the way.
I would have thought you enjoyed that little gambling game.
Let me enlighten you on the gambling that Joey Wheeler enjoys. If it keeps excitement and risk as part of it, great. Time Wizard, A+. Fairy Box, great. Roulette Spider, sign me up. Give me that dopamine hit. But this card is just try again later. No one takes damage. And the gambling can become predictable if the ordeal user can only keep 1 or 2 cards in the hand, so it ain't even odds you can be sure about. So yeah, gambles that slow the game down? Boo! Combo that with Robin Goblin and the cards you bounce back into your opponent's hand could very well just be discarded. Ectoplasmer ain't a fun card either, as you constantly have to give up a monster every turn, but this deck can flip its monsters face down to dodge the effect. It's got good spell and traps, a good searcher, but nah, I'll give it C. It's good for what it does, and what it does ain't pretty, or fun to play against, or watch.
I think the surprise factor of this deck is actually superb. A deck's strength can come from its unpredictability. Think of when Ishizu swapped Kaiba's deck out of the blue.
10% of my deck was stronger than 90% of Ishizu's. If she was psychic, she would have just quit before the match started. But she was delusional on more than one level.
You were shitting bricks for a bit there, though, no cap.
Don't say that again, Wheeler.
Being able to swap attack and defense suddenly can win a game out of the blue. Thankfully, this deck had the sense to include brain control. But many opponents aren't going to know how to deal with this style. And of those that don't, only a few will adapt before it's too late.
That's because everyone knows asking to read the card's effect is the coward's way out. A true duelist adapts and overcomes.
So, you want to be a true duelist when you grow up then?
Very funny, Yugi. How's that game shop dream coming along?
I just forget that asking's a rule, to be honest.
I also don't ask for rulings, just to flex. Anyway, I think this is a strong subversion deck. I do think it's going to struggle, however, the more someone duels it. I'll rate it into the B tier.
I'll admit this deck has some strengths going for it. Exod is going to be very difficult to punch over for most decks, but Canyon? Taking double damage from defense mode monsters is a trick that only Goldfish will fall for. And this is where this deck's biggest weakness is. Attacking your opponent forces them to interact with you, but constantly sitting in defense mode does not. While Exod is going to be outed rather fast by magic cards, the rest of the deck doesn't exactly have really high defenses. 2400 defense is the second highest behind Exod. Mega Rock Dragon is its strongest chance at seizing a victory, since it's a rare offensive card that doesn't gas out.
But is it losing to Blaze of Destruction?
Pot of Greed is more likely to get unbanned than Blaze of Destruction taking a W. I think it's aged worse than most of these other decks, though. With how fast decks have become, you just don't have the luxury to sit back behind defense monsters. D tier.
Kaiba, I think you're a bit too basic for your own good, or just not very imaginative.
You're confusing fringe benefits for consistent power, which explains your clusterfuck of a deck.
A deck that's also bested you multiple times. Do we really think it belongs in C tier?
I think it belongs in D above Blaze of Destruction.
Just put it in C and let's get moving.
Fine. This brings us up on Lord of the Storm.
Mai was pretty happy about this one.
Most vanilla monsters do enjoy the benefits of becoming effect monsters, and the Harpy Lady's got 3 variants. Though I do feel Pegasus was really just throwing her scraps here.
This deck is very close to being functional. The main benefit to this deck is it really doesn't fear the trap cards of your enemies since you'll be blowing them up constantly. Slate Warrior is a fantastic level 4. However, this deck is held back by most of its monsters having a low base attack. Certain cards like Harpy Girl really don't belong in the deck at all. If it had been more Harpy focused, it would be higher. But it's filled by a grab bag of random win monsters since they barely existed back then. C tier.
Come on, rich boy. I know you're used to simple beatdown strats, but their attack points don't disqualify them at all. Harpy Girl is there to help boost Harpy's pet baby dragon, and will even be protected by it.
Your admiration for young dragons is really concerning, Wheeler. Wouldn't you want something with actual power?
Look at this thing. If Harpy Lady 1 is out with at least one other Harpy, It's sitting at 2,700 attack, 3,200 if Bladefly is here. That could beat your Blue Eyes.
My Blue Eyes would annihilate it and my opponent's life points long before that combo completes itself.
We'd have to see. This deck could pull it off between its Searchers, Call of the Haunted, and Elegant Egotist. This deck also had some strong swarming combos before swarming really became big, so if you weren't ready to deal with the blitzes, you might be toast on turn 3. Set a Hysteric Party and any Egotist you got, card destruction. Bring those ladies back, potentially get more sisters. Devastating.
It also hasn't aged well due to traps becoming far too slow.
You haven't aged well either, if we're being real here. I'm looking back when it came out. I'll save the age debate when more is on the list. I will say, though, since I don't think Yugi will bring it up, it does have the chance to brick a few hands. Harpy Sisters without Egotist. Ecstasy Spark without Sistas. Ninjutsu Transformation is in this deck for some reason when there's only one ninja card. Should have just had a second Icarus attack. This deck is A tier, but it's held back by some poor choices.
In addition to the fact this deck lacks some good staples.
Yes, no way to steal. Deal with it.
I don't think this deck is worth how expensive it is on the hand. Hysteric Party can only bring back the Harpy ladies and not the sisters. Only one of the new ladies has a good effect, the other is okay. And Harpy Lady 2 is just bad. Flip effects weren't even that common back in the day. But between Magic Jammer, Lightning Vortex, Hysteric Party, your hand is going to be thin regularly. We still haven't gotten out of the boss with random burn phase. Once again, we have a special summoning restriction, but your own boss can actually kill you if you can't keep magic or traps on your side of the field. But I just don't see it staying around that long. The damage comes in during the end phase, where your opponent has more time to react, and it's still extremely weak. It's bad burn. I'm with Kaiba. I think the deck is just lacking a few more lines of text or just better duplicate choices.
So that puts it in B tier?
You have to convince us it's worthy of B tier.
Well, that ain't happening because you're a stubborn prick.
I'm going to coin something called the average top deck test. You have any one card in your hand and you can choose to top deck any card in your deck. How many options does your deck have to deal with a 2,400 attack monster when you have nothing else on the field?
What an oddly specific number.
Listen, Kaiba, not everyone can be me. This test is useless.
Shut up, Yugi. Your opponent has one monster at 2,400 attack with no spells or traps on the field, and no effect that will matter in battle. How likely is it this deck can top deck a way to deal?
What? Sakuretsu armor? Lightning Vortex? Icarus attack and any winged beast? There's probably more.
It doesn't have a lot of good options to make a comeback. That's why I think it belongs in C.
Don't tell me you're favoring it just because there's a card called Swift Birdman Joe in the deck.
Swift Birdman Joe has a winning smile like yours truly, but no.
Did you ask Pegasus to ship you with a Harpy lady because of my?
Whoa, hey, it's C tier. It's C tier. Let's move on.
Now I know what it's like to be Pegasus. It's so blatantly obvious what's going through his head.
Can we not put me on blast in front of an audience, Yug?
Setting it in C tier, behind Dragon's Roar, I think.
No objections.
Now, Dinosaur's Rage is up next.
Finally, I'm taking first on this one, dweebs.
Be my guest.
We finally get another deck that doesn't constantly get in its own way. We get a boss monster that can be special summoned from the grave. It's powerful. Superconductor Tyranno. Sure, it has random burn, but we also have one backup boss monster in Ultimate Tyranno. Put Megamorph on Superconductor Tyranno, and you'll punch someone for almost 7,000 points of damage. And you have a surprise monster in Tyranno Infinity that could potentially get even stronger. This deck has speed and power, both high enough for me to consider this an S-tier deck.
It's really hard to deny the utility this deck brings. Hyper Hammerhead is great for bouncing the monsters you can't deal with back to your opponent's hand, or even clearing the way for your bigger monsters to start attacking directly. Ultimate Tyranno does want to hog the field, but using Riryoku in conjunction with Ultimate Tyranno at the right time could easily OTK your opponent. Volcanic Eruption can clear a bad field, and Survival Instinct paired with Sebek's Blessing can keep you in the game longer than usual. What it trades for power and speed, though, is its defense. It will delay a spell card and trap card.
It won't matter if you crush your opponent before they can touch you.
Look, everyone! Kaiba is back on his bullshit! And no one was surprised. This deck really makes you feel like a brainless brute. It doesn't have a lot of control with searching either, but it is dangerous. B tier is what I'll settle on. Out of the frying pan is practically useless, since it doesn't destroy the magic card it negates, and while the cost of some magic cards might prevent your opponent from using it again, most don't possess that weakness.
It's because it lacks Snatch Steal.
I won't deny that is influencing me somewhat, but really it's the lack of defensive options. You're entirely at the mercy of your opponent's magic cards and traps.
Yeah, sorry I don't think this deck is S tier. It has power and sometimes speed, but it's going to be really inconsistent.
That's rich coming from someone who relies on Time Wizard.
Yeah, well look, this deck pretty much has one trick and it's punching really hard, which I'm gonna be honest, that only matters so much. You gave the average top deck challenge? Well, let me propose you the Marshmallow Challenge.
Oh, good point.
This deck would have Lightning Vortex. Black Tyranno can punch past Marshmallow. Volcanic Eruption if you're really desperate. And Mad Sword Beast could still hurt your opponent.
Yeah, I know big numbers is how you measure power, but I just don't think it has enough going for it. And it lacks any card that I would say is fun.
That's because you're not used to crushing your opponents, Wheeler. Since every duel is a struggle for you.
Struggle on this. B tier. Now you convince us why it should be A instead of B.
If you dweebs couldn't understand the benefits the first time around, repeating my points isn't going to change anything. It's about as futile as trying to make a viable Toon deck.
I can't believe how hard the tunes got eroded after Duelist Kingdom. It was like Pegasus actually took the time to read what he wrote for their effects and said, "Wow, this is some broken garbage," and then overcompensated.
Classic Maximilian overcompensating, Pegasus.
Dinosaur's Rage is going in B tier, and we move on to Machine Revolt.
I'll take this one too. If you felt the last deck didn't have enough tricks, then let me turn your attention to this deck. Almost all ancient gears prevent magic or trap cards going off when they attack. Mirror Force and Sakuretsu Armor mean nothing to this deck. Ancient Gear Gajiltron Dragon is a good boss monster. No summoning restriction, only gets better with the Gadget Trio, which are in this deck. It's a bit insane that there's only one copy of each. The deck would have been so much better with at least 2 apiece.
Agreed.
We also have some near OTK potential with Ancient Gear Golem plus Limiter Removal. 6,000 piercing damage that battle traps can't activate against is not going to be easy to shrug off. It also has the highly versatile Enemy Controller, an A-tier deck.
I do see the gadgets are here, and I am a fan. Machine Duplication has multiple hits, and Giant Rat can bring them out, or Ancient Gear Engineer for some magic and trap removal. Ancient Gear Drill can be a nice deterrent if you pick Limiter Removal. And Weapon Change, unlike Shield and Sword, lasts until the end of your opponent's next turn, so you won't be leaving yourself open, unlike Invincible Fortress. Using Enemy Controller and Ancient Gear Castle, you can take control of an enemy monster and make sure it gets tributed. It has a lot of solutions to the Marshmallow problem. I have no problem saying this deck is A tier, but I do feel it's held back by not enough gadgets.
I like this deck too. It ain't just big guy after big guy after big guy. Even the little guys play a role in the strategy of this deck. The gadgets always got each other's back, just like us three. Hey, Kaiba, would you say you're the red gadget of our trio?
Don't be ridiculous, Wheeler.
Right. You couldn't have fun if Mokuba's life depended on it.
You're forgetting I built Kaiba Land.
Oh, right. I guess a giant ego trip is fun. Hey, how much to build a Joey Land?
I think I would be the red gadget.
And I guess I'd be
I would be Green Gadget.
Ha! Why's that, rich boy?
I used to have a thing for the color. More importantly, it would make me the strongest gadget.
But if I was in defense mode, you wouldn't be able to beat me. You just hurt yourself trying. How fitting.
I see we're back on ridiculous statements. You want a duel, Yugi?
Hey! I'm the one that's got to serve Yugi his own defeat sandwich. Again.
What do you mean, again?
After earth-shattering duel, I won my red eyes back from him.
Lies.
It's true. It was one of the greatest duels of my life. The heart of the cards was really on Joey's side. Unfortunately, no one saw it.
All right, well, I'll point out some of this deck's weaknesses that I see. This deck is lacking a lot of ways to bring things back from the grave, but a couple of them really wouldn't be able to be brought back anyway. I honestly think it falls into B tier, but like, the top of it right now. I wouldn't be upset if it lands in A tier since the Ancient Gear effect was very strong, but the deck has a chance to welcome you to Brick City.
You know, this brings up an important question. We're rating these decks on how they function without any boosters, right? Do you think their rankings change if we assume someone bought 3 of them to rearrange the deck a little?
It would certainly change Machine Revolt. It should be S tier if you have 3 sets of gadgets. The hand advantage they produce is cracked.
Let's review them once we finish rating all the decks. Then we can adjust where they stand if they bought 3 copies. I have to duel Yugi.
I want in on this duel too. Let's head to the roof, pick a structure deck, and let's see who survives. Do we have any adjustments we want to make to the tier list before getting started?
I think Warrior's Triumph should go up above Lord of the Storm. It was a lot more consistent than I remembered. That's the only change I can think of.
I think it should go up into B.
I'll let it move up 1 spot. The only reason you won those duels is because I was asleep.
Warriors still triumphed.
Damn it!
Let's get started. Pegasus only released this structure deck in Japan, then confusingly released parts of the set in upcoming boosters. It's Surge of Radiance.
Serenity liked this deck, which gives it a bit of a soft spot in my heart. It's very much a field spell deck, means it lives or dies on its field spell. She got frustrated more than a few times if Tristan remembered how to activate a magic card and destroyed her Sanctuary into Sky. But some of these cards just don't do anything without the field spell. And some of them are just, like what? Radiant Gerald. When discard is sent to the graveyard except by battle and a field spell is there, gain 1,000 life points. Like, what?
I wouldn't say it completely lived and died on its field spell. It had no shortage of counter traps and ways to benefit from them. That, and it has plenty of ways to increase its life points with Guardian Angel Joan, Absorbing Kid from the Sky, and Royal Knight. This makes the deck very beginner-friendly, so I see why Serenity would have liked it. I think its sheer options in being able to defend itself easily landed in A tier.
That and like, one searcher can bring out Parshath. Neo Parshath is a special summon, so is Voltanus. Its staple game is strong. I agree with A tier, but I won't complain if it lands in S.
It isn't reaching S tier. This deck relies on getting a lead it will have difficulty securing. One of its boss monsters requires at least a 700 life point lead to become strong, and it can only be brought out by a relatively weak monster, which you only have 1 of. And look at Agent of Force Mars. 0 attack and defense if you don't have a lead. Duo blows up if you so much as stub your toe, so its stall is unreliable. B tier is where I feel it belongs, but anything else higher is fueled by delusional wishful thinking, something you both have in spades.
You know the drill, Kaiba.
Yeah, convince us it's B tier.
Just put it in A tier if you like it so much, dweebs.
And as per usual, Kaiba has no ability to counter.
Just move on already.
We have another like Surge of Radiance. For one reason or another, Pegasus only released this one in Japan. This is Curse of Darkness.
I'm fairly certain Pegasus created this deck to troll me.
Why's that?
It has the virus cards, all of them, so that looks good. Cool-looking Dragon Boss monster, sure. But then, you look a little bit closer. Dark Mirror Force, which I'd be surprised if that card ever made it into anyone's side deck, let alone main deck. It's about as identity confused as Yugi. Does it want to be beat down? Does it want to be burned? Well, it sucks at both of them. Recurring Nightmare? It hits all of 4 monsters in the entire deck. Pathetic.
I don't know why Pegasus waffled on putting 3 copies of good cards into structure decks, but then we get, like, 3 giant orcs in this deck. It's got one searcher that summons to the field, the other throws into the hand. And for a deck that wants to use Ectoplasmer, it just doesn't special summon to help fill the field, at all. This deck has a grand total of 2 ways to special summon, 1 Mystic Tomato and 1 Malice Doll of Demise. And Demise requires Ectoplasmer. I've criticized decks in the past about not wanting your opponent to play the game, and all these virus cards play to that, but it ain't even good at preventing your opponent from playing. So I hate the idea, and it executes it poorly, D tier, on all levels.
Great. I'm agreeing with Wheeler again. I also say D tier.
Its burn isn't bad. It accomplishes a similar output that previous burn decks did, but its stall game is hot garbage, and its cards just contradict each other. If you're using one of the 2 Ectoplasmers in the deck, Spirit Reaper isn't sticking around. Stealth Bird evades Ectoplasmer, but you'll need Magic Cylinder to keep it from dying with its weak 1700 defense. The giant orcs do make use of Ectoplasmer well, but you're just never going to keep your field full to tribute summon. And Diabolos, he can't be tributed. Ever. Good for Ectoplasmer, but if you need to use any of the virus cards and he's your only option, he says no.
Diabolos is that boss that always makes you want to work overtime but never does so himself, and is always on his phone instead of working. Boo!
Reluctantly, I also give this deck D tier.
And naturally above Blaze of Destruction because, of course.
Whoa, it happened.
What did?
We all agreed on its placement.
It had to happen eventually.
So, Blaze of Destruction was a burn deck, right?
Supposedly.
Why did its boss monster not inflict burn at all during a time where like every boss monster burned?
Wow, you're right.
Pegasus is a hack, confirmed.
Curse of Darkness is going into D tier, and we're moving on to Rise of the Dragon Lords.
Take me down onto the Brick City, where the cards are good but the strat's a pity.
Oh joy. I get to hear Wheeler's expert opinion on a dragon deck. Let me preemptively prepare to tell you how wrong you are.
All right, rich boy. You know how I dunk on other decks for not letting your opponent play the game? This deck is the opposite problem. Folks watching count 'em with me. Felgrand Dragon, 2 tributes. Dark Blaze Dragon, 2 tributes kinda. Guilford the Lightning, hey buddy, 3 tributes. Tyrant Dragon, 2 tributes and extra tributes to return from the grave. Guardian Angel Joan for some reason, 2 tributes. Horus level 6, 1 tribute. The Creator, 2 tributes. Majestic Mech Goryu, 2 tributes again. Can be 1, but then he self-destructs because you didn't pay him enough. Like you see the problem here, Kaiba? I actually want to play the game when I play dual monsters, but this deck is going to be me getting punched in the face most of the time with little I can do about it. D tier.
I thought that was the normal Joey Wheeler experience.
I mean, sure I get roughed up a bit, but usually I win in the end. This ain't that case here.
As expected, an amateur like yourself sees the deck as unwieldy. I won't sit here and try to claim this deck is S tier, because it's not. But just because it has 8 tribute monsters doesn't mean this deck is unusable. The Creator is going to be a fantastic engine to summon many of these monsters. Mausoleum of the Emperor is expensive, but these heavy hitters are going to cause problems for your opponent. This also comes with Snipe Hunter, need I remind you?
Oh yeah? Change my vote to C tier.
Damn it, Wheeler. Regardless, it has many powerful monsters with several ways of bringing them back. A few ways to destroy pesky spells and traps with Wing Beat, Malevolent Catastrophe, and Dust Tornado. Soul Exchange is here too as a unique way to out an opponent's monster. My only problem is how convoluted it is to use Felgrand Dragon. He has to show up and die first, and then come back to be at full power. If he just always had his attack boosting, he'd make this deck better. I put this deck in the B tier. Reluctantly. It's harmed severely by Felgrand Dragon being another troll card made by Pegasus.
You know, if you took the Blue Eyes out of Blue Eyes Shining Dragon, I'm sure you'd say the card was also a troll card.
That's stupid, Yugi. Of course it would be a troll card if it was called Shining Dragon and randomly required Ultimate Dragon to be summonable.
You brought up confused identities earlier, and I believe this deck follows that too. Despite it being called Rise of the Dragon Lords, we have random Guardian Angel Joan and Guilford the Lightning here. This makes Wing Beat of a giant dragon less viable in the deck. Brain Control and Soul Exchange do help unburden the deck from requiring so many of your own monsters for tributes. But if you don't get a strong start with this deck, I just don't see you recovering. I think Joey had it right the first time. I think it's D tier. The top of it, but still D tier. It's way too unreliable.
So it averages out into C tier, which, it's upsetting, just because you two wouldn't know how to play the deck.
Oh, I know how to play the deck. Let me just throw it in the garbage for you. Then you can pull it out.
You're not funny,
Into
Wheeler.
C tier Rise of the Dragon Lords goes. That means we move on to the Dark Emperor.
Yes, we're on to something good. This deck is a reminder that Pegasus throwing ideas at a dartboard does eventually get things right.
And get it right he did. This deck, like Invincible Fortress, is a subversion deck, but what it subverts instead is especially disruptive. Banisher of Radiance and Macrocosmos will completely gut a deck. In fact, Rise of the Dragon Lords would just be entirely shut off by this deck. So many decks, even to this day, rely on the graveyard. Not only does this deck have an unreal amount of ways to banish your opponent's cards, but other cards that combo into this strategy and get stronger. Look at Grenmaju. Look at DD Dynamite. This is a well-constructed deck, and one I'd be comfortable slotting into the S-tier slot.
There's more too. This deck is good at all stages of the game. Early, mid, late. It doesn't matter. Early game, you have strong monsters with powerful effects to keep your opponent on the back foot, or at least go even with cards like DD Warrior and DD Warrior Lady. Mid-game, you have the Emperor himself. He even comes with some slight misplay insurance. If you're someone like Wheeler that doesn't read wording very well and you're put in a situation where he can only banish himself, at least he deals 1,000 damage to your opponent on his way out. Late game, return from the different dimension has always been a game changer, and barring some extremely niche circumstances, you can always afford to trigger it. This deck is S tier, and I will fight you, Wheeler, if you try to say otherwise.
I don't have to like a deck to give it a good rating. Now I don't like it that much. It's focused around banishing monsters, which is harder to protect against. So even if you could protect yourself against a lot of other decks, its banishing strats could easily get around them. But Joey Wheeler ain't no fool. I am gonna say it's A tier, though. Good as its offense is, its defensive options are limited. You're at the mercy of your opponent's magic and traps, but I don't think my opinion is gonna keep it out of S tier. And that's okay by me.
Meh, acceptable.
Into S tier it'll go, and I think it should be the top of our list right now.
Agreed.
Yeah, that makes sense.
This means we move on. We're on to Zombie World now.
Oh yeah, this one, with Red Eye Zombie Dragon.
Hilarious that Pegasus declared Red Eyes was a dead card. He made a troll deck just for you.
Paladin of Cursed Dragon was one of your Blue Eyes cards, wasn't it? Looks like he was trolling both of us.
What? I'll kill him!
Before you run off to write another angry email to Pegasus, at least give your opinion on the deck.
Fine. This zombie deck, in my opinion, is an overall downgrade in most cases from Zombie Madness. It relies on a field spell, which only houses one in the deck for some baffling reason. This in a deck that also runs Field Barrier and Terraforming. But this deck has the exact same problem that Spellcaster's Judgment had. It's easy for most decks to punch over it. Now it does have Shrink, an S-tier card. That can allow Zombie Dragon to steal a stronger monster and bring it under your control, but there's also only one Shrink in the deck. It's put together haphazardly, but is strong if it actually gets optimal conditions for its strategy. B tier.
This is tough. I mean, I like Red Eyes, but I can't say I like this twisted version of him. This deck absolutely needs more copies of Zombie World for Zombie Dragon to really pop off, but as Kaiba said, it only has the one. Zombie World will absolutely mess with your opponent if you get it off, though. Most my equips just wouldn't work anymore while Zombie World is on the field since only warriors can use them, and Zombie World turns everyone into a freaking zombie. It does have decent draw power, decent ways to summon, but nah, I just don't like this deck. It just kind of reminds me of one of Weevil's strats to turn all your monsters into something he can manipulate. Gross. C tier. Sorry, Red Eyes.
Oh, look, Yugi is smiling about something.
Seeing this deck, 2 words come to mind. Let's go!
Yep, knew it.
Where do I start? Zombie Dragon summons defeated monsters to your field. Zombie Master can take any level 4 from either grave. Our good old friend Creature Swap is back, and Marionette Might can also let you snag an opponent's strong monster for a turn when Zombie World is out. Magical Stone Excavation can help retrieve a destroyed Zombie World. Card of Safe Return helps with the draw power. Call of the Mummy helps summon monsters, as does Pyramid Turtle, who can bring out any monster in the deck for good control. As the cherry on top, Magical Arm Shield lets you steal an opponent's monster to take a hit for you. Mwah! Chef's kiss. It can only be A tier.
At this rate, an S-tier deck from Yugi would just be playing the opponent's deck to defeat them.
There's always something special about defeating someone with their own monster. Remember that time I defeated your imposter with your blue eyes? Good times. Anyway, into B-tier Zombie World goes.
Speaking of copium, the tier list. We watched the tournament footage, right?
That tournament was a sham. You can't seriously be proposing it affects the list.
It has made me reconsider a few things. My proposed changes is dropping Machine Revolt to B-tier and putting Blaze of Destruction above Curse of Darkness.
Fine. Let's talk about Spellcaster's Command, then. The deck where Pegasus really fell in love with his spell counter idea.
It's not a bad idea to fall in love with.
I'll tell you what's a bad idea to fall in love with. Why is Blast Magician not out of a job yet? Even in a spell counter-focused deck like this, he just needs too many resources to see any benefit. Or you could just play Lightning Vortex, which this deck lacks.
Spirit Reaper still wasn't uncommon to see stalling at this time. Same with Marshmelon. And the field spell helps keep those resources around for Blast Magician to use. If anything, he's better this time around.
The power got shifted around here a bit. We got less skilled Dark Magicians, but we got Breaker in his place. The deck has a few ways to refuel his ability, which is nice, and a few equip spells to make most monsters a threat. The spell counters promote you taking your time with the duel, but I don't know that the deck really has the ability to afford that.
Why does Magical Blast still have a job? Sure, it's a consistent source of spell counters, but as even Wheeler said when he brought it up, it won't save you if you draw it with a low amount of cards.
The Magical Citadel really helps speed up the spell counter game,
There's
though,
only
with its
one.
ability to bank
There's
spell...
only one!
Count.
There's only one! And Field Barrier is here too. I guess it's good ammo for the boss monster at least.
Are you done?
All the removal in this deck comes from monsters, and most of them need ammo.
You too, Joey?
If more cards were like Breaker, great. But I don't want Blast Magician where I have to sit there and think, all right, how many cards do I gotta invest in this level 4 monster to be worth it?
Between the Citadel and Power Stones, you have plenty of spell counters to play with to do things like let Breaker destroy a back row.
Average top deck challenge, go!
I really want to finish what I'm saying, but fine. Fisher, Old Vindictive Magician, any monster and enemy controller if my opponent has 2,400 or less life points.
That checks out.
Skilled Dark Magician and Nuzzler, Breaker and Nuzzler.
Anything else?
Skilled Dark Magician and Mage Power, or Breaker and Mage Power, then Crash.
Don't think that should count. Just leaves you completely open.
4.5 options. One example was highly conditional.
Your face is highly conditional.
Of all the counter trap cards you could play, you picked that one.
The spells do suffer some in this deck, I won't deny that, but it has one powerful addition, Book of Moon. When this came out, you could use it to entirely shut off certain effects or strategies, reflip certain cards like Old Vindictive right when your opponent attacks into it. Monsters like Chimera Tech Overdragon get turned into a 0/0 when they're flipped back up. This is much more of a combat spellcaster deck, aiming to beat down your opponents, unlike Spellcaster's Judgment, which was some weird burn beatdown hybrid.
Endymion has a special summon condition, but 6 spell counters is a hefty cost.
He does come with his own destruction effect and a spell recycle.
Yes, but 6 spell counters, Yugi. And they have to come from the field spell. Think about how many cards you have to burn through to make that a reality. And unless your opponent feeds your Citadel non-stop, prime conditions you might see a turn 3 or 4 summon, but I'd wager the average is more like turn 5 or 6. And that means the field spell isn't being used for its other purpose, fueling your other monsters.
And he can only use a magic card for his destruction effect. Whole design is a little,
Contradictory. Summoner Monk also requires a magic card to use his effect in a deck where you want to be playing them as much as possible.
You need to know how to best use the cards at your disposal to come out ahead. And Endymion has an impressive design.
That doesn't help anyone. Spell Power Grasp at 1? Nice prank, Pegasus.
buy 3 of these structure decks or else be forever annoyed by the fact you could search out another one of these.
I agree Book of Moon is versatile and powerful, but it's not enough to carry the entire deck. It's a beatdown deck that requires too much setup to keep the pressure going. I give it a D.
I personally think it sits in C. I just feel like this deck is trying to pull me in 2 different directions constantly.
It's interesting choice. Whether to use the counters or not, it's not just endlessly spamming monster effects to get an unbreakable board or autopiloting. Ugh, I just don't know why you don't see that. It's an A-tier deck.
In A tier, Zombie Madness would eat this deck alive.
So is it going in B or C?
C tier. Do you have anything nice to say about Disenchanter, Yugi?
If you have anything that generates spell counters when spells are played on the field, you can indefinitely bounce your Swords of Revealing Light, so your opponent can never attack you unless they destroy it outright.
Sounds kinda annoying, actually.
That sounds degenerate enough to get it to the bottom of B tier. And I guess this isn't a tier list of how fun it is to play against each deck.
Still think it's too low, but I'll take it.
Dweeb Redux is up next. Sorry, I mean Warrior Strike.
Ah, here we go! You just look at the star monster and know this deck will kick butt.
Because it's Gearfried.
Yeah, and I know Gemini monsters were another weird gimmick that didn't really last. Most of its cards actually look to serve its strategy. Featherizer, Gemini Summoner, Blazewing Butterfly all serve to help get Geminis in the grave or accelerate them into effect mode. The deck has decent control between Hidden Armory, Field Commander Raz, Reinforcement of the Army, and Freed to get the cards you need, and, Kunai with Chain, Nuff said.
Like the last Warrior deck, it's going to be very reliant on equip cards to make the small monsters a threat. However, unlike the last Warrior deck, the equip game here is extremely weak. Big Bang Shot and Phoenix Blade aren't going to be making anything that can defeat the average top deck challenge. For a deck that relies on some of its own monsters using equips, Pegasus picked really weird ones to include. Ekibio Drakmord, You're not equipping that to your own monster unless you plan to destroy it immediately. Symbols of Duty specifically requires a normal monster, and if all you have is a Gemini summoned monster, it's going to be a very disappointing top deck if you're on the back foot.
I think the best thing going for this deck is Burden of the Mighty, which solves the low attack problem that Kaiba mentioned if it stays around. But aside from that, it doesn't have a lot of good cards to help deal with enemy monsters. Hidden Armory takes away your normal summon, which you desperately need in a deck like this. Ekibio might get the job done, but by this point it's easy enough to tribute the monster or synchro away.
It's got plenty of good tools to work with. And Dark Bribe is a fantastic counter-trap card.
It literally hands your opponent more tools.
Yeah, it's a gamble. Did you pick that right card to stop at the right time?
Checks out!
I think it's consistent, and you got really good cards to play with. I'm just saying, I think this structure deck is the first one that intentionally treated its graveyard like a second hand and built around it. I think this one is A tier, for sure.
It's certainly not the first, but it is one of the better attempts. Top deck challenge, Joey. If you can name more than 6 options, I'll put it in B tier.
You're on! Sakuretsu, supervise with Blazewing Butterfly if Gearfried is into grave. DD Warrior Lady, supervise Future Samurai, supervise with Evocator Chevalier. Marauding Captain and Exiled Force, 7.
Bah, that's 6.5. Fine, I'll give it to you. I'll agree with B tier, but the low end of it, below Spellcaster's Command.
Low end of B tier is delusional, but that's where it averages. It should go above Spellcaster's Command, though.
You're trolling!
No, I'm not.
You're just upset Machine Revolt did poorly after you called it an S tier deck. I see right through you, Kaiba. You sure you know what trolling means?
Trolling. Transitive verb.
Yep.
To harass, criticize, or antagonize someone, especially by provocatively disparaging or mocking public statements, postings, or acts.
That's you right now.
I'm saying it like it is.
So, Machina Mayhem is up next. Surprise Machine's got a new structure deck so soon after Machine Revolt. Machine Revolt really was dead in the water once Ultimate Offering got axed.
Looks like the gadgets also are still getting work.
They make even less sense here. And once again, still only 1 copy each. But the rest of the monsters make up for it. Look at this boss monster, Yugi. Unlike Endymion, it has a much easier to use summoning condition. Its lower attack isn't as much a problem when anything that runs it over is likely going to the graveyard with it. Machina Fortress is a boss that will not let you just push it around so easily, so it has my respect. Machina Force seems threatening, but you need to get 4 cards on the field, which this deck cannot do easily. While it may seem like this makes Machina Force a brick, it can just be used to summon Machina Fortress in just 1 card. The Big Saturn can also fulfill this role, but is easier to summon if you don't have Fortress in your hand. But let's talk about how Machina Soldier can also just summon it to the field with no problems if your field is empty. And this deck also has Dimensional Prison, a card that can be difficult to defend against even now since it's not a destruction effect.
But I think the gadgets work better in this deck than they did in Machine Revolt. This deck has frontline base, meaning you can throw a gadget down and equip it with a Union card to make it stronger in the same go. And Solidarity actually makes them threatening.
Solidarity gadgets still aren't the most difficult thing to punch over.
The Machina monsters are all right. I like how the sniper is apparently the worst sniper in the world because every monster only wants to kill them. Then again, I've heard how annoying snipers can be in shooter games, so maybe that's on brand.
I always grab the sniper.
I always grab the rocket launcher.
Checks out. On both accounts. What doesn't is why Machine Duplication is in this deck. Armored Cyburn and Heavy Mech Support Platform are its only targets, and only 2 of each exist in the deck. This structure deck just really didn't want you getting 3 of anything. Least all the extra summoning makes Ceasefire better in this deck than Dragon's Roar.
I forgot about why is Ceasefire back?
To make your enemy cease firing upon you, by inflicting 1 to 2,000 damage.
Yes,
Ish.
It works better in this deck. Machina Soldier into Fortress Frontline Base into a Union. You at least get 1,500 in, but that's optimal. 2,000 if you activate before attacking a monster. This is an A-tier deck.
I usually think when a deck includes Card Trader, it's a call for help.
Again, Yug, most people aren't you.
Let's run with that then. If you don't draw a Fortress, what tools do you have? A moderately strong beatdown deck with Solidarity and a deck that struggles to be beat down without it. It does have Prohibition though. That card is fun. Used it once against Mako Tsunami at our locals and declared Umi.
You're really twisted sometimes, you know that?
I really don't see this deck breaking B tier, so I'll place it there. I think it could beat Dinosaur's Rage consistently, so put it at the top.
I think there's just a lot of potential to land in Brick City. I think it just runs into the problem of too many weak starts. I don't think it breaks C-tier TBH, and the strong starts rely on losing a lot of hand advantage.
It has plenty of good combos and surprises for it to land in B tier, and it even has decent searching power.
Look, I can see why you and Kaiba might like the deck, but I just don't see it performing very well. I'm gonna settle on C tier.
That'll land it in high B. The others above it would give it a challenge, so this isn't the most offensive ranking.
That means next we have
What was that?
Mokuba ordered pizza. Why the hell is the delivery guy up here?
Here's your pizza.
Thanks! Hey, you're that Merrick guy.
Marek, stop getting in the way of Mokuba's live stream and get out here.
So, you figured it out?
The Pizza Hat wasn't putting in as much work as you might have hoped. You certainly don't sound how I remember you, but...
This is just my pizza delivery voice. I can't turn it off once I've started.
My, what convenient timing you had. We were just about to talk about your structure deck.
I know, and that's why I planned to be here for it. You see, I heard about your tier list when you were at Walmart. I was there too. You just didn't look close enough.
Shut up, I don't care. If you're here to comment on some decks, you have until security gets here to throw you back out on the street.
At least let's hear him out. I'm curious to see what he thinks.
Good. And then after hearing about your tier list at Walmart, I followed you to Six Flags and was going
I mean on the decks, Merrick.
But I had this elaborate plan. A coupon made for Mokuba to use. At this exact time.
Look, that's great. You're good. People still like you.
I don't.
You don't need to prove anything to anyone.
What? Yes, I do. This tier list is a sham. What is Blaze of Destruction doing down there? And Curse of Darkness? Did you three forget how to play the game?
We don't all agree on the placements. These are just the averages.
And yet look at these rankings. Blaze of Destruction should be S.
Not this crap again.
Solar Flare Locks? Dark Room of Nightmare? You've never faced the true power of Ultimate Baseball Kid. The kid who can rival even the gods in terms of attack power under the right conditions.
Look, Merrick, we're not talking about those ones today.
Bah, fine. All right, Spellcaster's Command. I never liked how bossy this Endymion guy looked. The trap selection was also abysmal. Look at this. Magic Cylinder and Tower of Babel are good, but Pitch Black Power Stone and Magician Circle, these aren't real traps. How are you supposed to fight back against your opponent if you just let them walk all over you? Wow, my opponent turned on a battery. How threatening.
If that battery gets attached to a spellcaster that blows up your back row, then I'd be worried about it.
Dark Red Enchanter is the best monster in the deck since he can be an attacker or destroy your opponent's hand. Both are valuable. Book of Moon is the best magic card, and Magic Cylinder is the best trap. The deck should go down into D tier.
You're joking.
It's not Curse of Darkness tier, even with the problems you mentioned.
I'm surprised you're not leaping on this when earlier you were trying to throw this into D tier.
I'm not a robot, Yugi. I can change my mind. You talked about an infuriating combination that would make Spellcaster's Command a pain to deal with. Also, if Marek thinks it's bad, it's probably better than I gave it credit for.
What a foolish metric! I got further in Battle City than you did.
Yes, but you would have lost to Wheeler had he been able to declare his attack. And you had an Egyptian god card. The strongest one, in fact. Your words.
I'm still wrapping my mind around the fact you said Tower of Babel was good.
It is! Are you really that short-sighted? Get to 3 counters and then watch as your opponent debates on if the magic card they want to play is worth 3,000 damage.
And if you want to play a magic card.
Just don't!
And if you need to?
Guess I'll die, then do better next time.
Feel like Trap Hole would just be better.
Then what's this one? Warrior Strike, Phoenix Gearfried. Is this Gearfried trying to enter Phoenix mode? Ha!
No, that's not just a Raw exclusive thing.
It's popular in fiction across the world.
That's because Raw did it first!
Don't know about that.
Let me just refresh my knowledge on this deck list here. See? This deck gets it better. These are all face downs my opponent has to worry about. Keeps them guessing. The Gemini thing is foolish, though. I don't know what Pegasus was thinking. I'd just play monsters that have the good effects right away. I bet he didn't expect high-caliber duelists would see through that ruse.
Can't tell if he's trolling or not.
Yeah, he's trolling.
You fools! You've been trolled! B tier? More like bad tier. So this should be C. The traps are good, but the deck is built around a failed theme. Its best monster is Exiled Force, who doesn't need to be summoned twice, by the way, to destroy an opponent's monster. Mystical Space Typhoon is the best magic card, and Sakuretsu Armor is the best
You
trap
trolled
card.
your entire Battle City Goon Squad. You put a card that summoned one of my better monsters in Arcana's deck, a deck you built to counter me.
Look, sometimes people don't draw the counter cards in the right order.
You also put Micha of Destruction in a deck with a 4,000 life point format. Half the reason I kept saying I can't when you ordered me to play it was the whole can't be used when your opponent has less than 3,000 life points bit.
Wait, is that true?
You trolled yourself the most when you gave your Slifer card to one of your pathetic minions. Then you let them duel against an opponent none of your other minions had managed to defeat. Should have just put Slifer and Ra in the same deck.
Well, if I did,
You know I did always wonder.
So anyway, Warrior Strike should be C tier, and now I talk about Machina Mayhem. As someone that helped build a machine deck before, Blastsphere, very nice. Hand Destruction, sure. D-Prison, yes. Ceasefire, good.
No, it's not.
Compulsory, yes. Good. These aren't the scariest face downs, but they aren't the worst either. Well, I can respect the theme, but I think the amount of mind games I could play with these are limited. You know, if my darker half hadn't taken over, I was just going to play Prohibition against Slifer in the finals.
That's cheap.
I respect it.
Ishizu used Prohibition on me all the time. And she always knew the best targets to hit because of her fracking necklace. The Big Saturn! Now this is a boss monster. They won't want to hit it with Mirror Force in fear of taking 2,800 damage.
It's not very flexible, and the 1,000 life point and discard cost for its effect are absurd. It makes you more likely to die by its effect. It can be used against you, easily.
Any card can be used against you, Yami. Exchange exists.
Yes, but never mind.
This deck has potential optimized, so A tier.
We're rating how they are out of the box.
B tier then. Rest in peace, 3 blast spheres.
That's the pinnacle, huh?
There's more to it than that, but let's get on to why we're all here.
Why you're here.
You're here to talk about me right now. My structure deck is up.
This is going to poison my opinion.
I'll start this off. First off, check out this fiend monster that's a steel-armored machine that ruthlessly strikes down enemies with its giant katana.
That's the story we went with, huh, Pegasus?
Listen, everyone, my
Stop
deck
hogging the camera.
has strong low levels like Gilgarth here. Mystic Tomato to search out what you need, including Legendary Fiend, who starts weak but rapidly becomes stronger with each passing turn. Infinite gains.
Book of Moon.
Okay, no! I hate that card when it's used like that. It's supposed to help flip effects reuse their moves. Turning off the effect is dumb.
Pegasus hasn't eroded it yet, so he doesn't agree.
High attack monsters? No problem. Nudoria and Dark Juroid have you covered.
I can't believe he's doing a sales pitch to the audience here.
Or you can pull out some Gravekeepers who got bored of the underground, like me. And trust me, they want to stir up all kinds of trouble, like Curse, 500 damage for being summoned. Pow! Right to the face. Or Spear Soldier, who when he attacks a monster with lower defense points than his attack points, the difference
We
is...
just call that piercing now. Nowhere near as clunky to say in conversation.
Cough! 1,500 attack piercer, cough, cough, weak AF, cough.
Someone get that man a cough drop. Cannon Holder inflicts 700 damage when you tribute a Gravekeeper. Descendant can just blow up whatever he feels like.
Yep, just list them all.
Assailant! Change battle positions of the monster without cheating the effect away. Lava Golem 2. Tribute 2 pesky enemy monsters. Just make sure you also have Nightmare Wheel to freeze it in place so it can't hit you back. But sometimes it's worth just outing your opponent's monsters anyway.
Deck is still kinda mid, TBH.
Or use Creature Swap with Mystic Tomato and get their strong monster and legendary fiend.
Ruh, that's such a good combo.
You ever think you're a closet thief?
You know, with how many wins I steal...
I'm not done! Dark Room of Nightmare, Skull Invitation, and Coffin Cellar. Your opponent will melt away as the battle continues. Acid Trap Hole, Mirror Force, Metal Reflect Slime, Malevolent Catastrophe. Then, of course, Necro Valley stops graveyard effects, which age far better than I ever expected.
Pegasus let one copy of this deck release with 2 Necro Valleys instead of just one? What gives?
Mystical Beast of Circuit. It banishes any monster it destroys and gains 500 attack each time. 6 stars, by the way. Eat it, Yugi.
Maybe I would have to worry about it more often if it didn't need a magic card on the field to summon it.
Which is a powerful card. Look at this effect. 1 trap gets to be activated the turn it's set. And if Circuit isn't enough, he can bring out any monster from your deck or any fusion monster. This makes him the best monster. Mystical Space Typhoon is the best magic card, and Mirror Force is the best trap. I don't think it needs to be debated. My structure deck is S tier, the top of it.
All right, now, given our past, I'd really love to just take a crowbar to the deck's rating, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna approach how I would any other deck on this list. And it's okay.
Copium!
I didn't even start yet.
Your deck is bad half the time because it's a luck
You
deck.
said we were here to talk about your deck, so let's talk about your deck.
Try your best. I'll destroy any attack you throw. Like I'm a living Mirror Force.
The synergy between the deck is all over the place. Like it's almost a Gravekeeper's deck, but then you got this katana-wielding fiend machine over here. It's not completely a dark deck because you have fire and earth monsters too, which gives you less options for a lure of darkness.
It's a gamble!
Okay, but that's like if I used weighted dice in the wrong direction. I'd be making my odds worse for no reason. And can we talk about Visor Des here?
I don't see a problem.
3 standby phases after activation.
And then they explode, all while my monster cannot.
Why not just run Sakuretsu armor instead?
You fool! Sakuretsu armor can't be tributed.
It's an outrageously long wait.
What part of can't be destroyed by battle are you missing?
I'd just brain control it.
You would!
Then tribute it.
You're a cretin!
I know.
Circuit is also gonna be a brick.
You're a brick!
I'm just saying, you need a good core if you want to get the boss monsters out. The Gravekeepers are okay, but if your opponent has any attack at all over 2k, they're going to struggle.
That's what Newdoria is for!
Gravekeepers can't search him.
That's what Mystic Tomato is for.
Tomato also forces attack mode, and a lot of your Gravekeepers are flip effects with low attack points.
That's what Spy is for!
I'm just saying, those sides of the deck don't play nice if you need the other. Boganian is going to die from most monsters before his effect fires.
It's true. Even the Celtic Guardian would give him the business, and he loses to just about everyone.
I'm feeling really meh about the deck. I'll put it in C tier, above Rise of the Dragon Lords.
It's not that low despite its problems. Let's not forget how much of a game changer Mirror Force is, and it's in this deck. One careless mistake, and you could lose your massive lead.
See, he gets it.
Guard has the ability to bounce monsters, which can severely set an opponent back on a tributed monster, and Circuit can banish monsters it destroys if it comes out. Metal Reflect Slime isn't anything to scoff at either with its 3,000 defense. I think this deck belongs in the B tier, held back by the absurd amount of continuous spells and traps in the deck. Your field literally cannot fit them all. I'd put this above Machina Mayhem.
Well, you're not going to draw all of them at once.
I mean, I won't.
And even just 3 of them are going to turn any minor burn into a raging inferno.
You have to hope your opponent draws bad, since you're setting yourself 3 cards behind to set that up.
All I have to say is, Boganian.
Yep.
900 instead.
Yep.
Newdoria, 1,200 damage.
Merrick, that's 3 cards dedicated to not fighting your opponent. And your floodgate option is limited. It just doesn't seem like you're committed to any kind of strategy. No, you know what this smells like?
Victory!
Spellcaster's Judgment, just a bit more practical.
This deck makes me wonder how you ever got to the Battle City Finals. Your effects can keep you in the game, but it lacks closing power. Your field spell does nothing for half of your monsters. The staples carry this deck. I'd put it in C tier, right above Zombie World.
Carried by my staples, Crush Card, Shrink, Card of Demise. You're one to talk. They're just as much a part of the deck as anything else.
I do agree.
Between all of us, that lands Merrick's structure deck in C tier.
It should be B tier with all 4 of us.
You don't count. You're just here to give your opinion.
Putting my deck below Dragon's Roar is a joke. If that deck stubs its toe and loses momentum, it's dead. It should be top of C tier. But let's not pretend it's because it belongs there. You're just upset that I dueled circles around all of you.
That's where it's being placed. Maybe you'd like to duel for it, since that's how we settle things around here. And I'll even take you on with Spellcaster's Command, so it's fair.
I don't know why you're humoring him.
So about that next deck, Dragoonity Legion.
Oh, right. We had one more.
Better say what you want to about Dragoonity Legion, Merrick, before my security gets here to escort you out.
Let's see. Wow, they brought Armed Dragon back in for another run, huh? You'd think Pegasus finds him necessary for dragon-themed decks to function or something. This trap selection is lukewarm at best. Windstorm, Relieve Monster, Final Attack Orders, and Dragon's Rage aren't going to pull their weight. Bottomless Trap Hole, Mirror Force, and Spiritual Wind Art will. This deck also has no ability to negate.
The deck's got good control, though. But Pegasus is back to his old ways, and it hurts the deck out of the box. Dragon Ravine at 1.
Look at all these tuners and nothing to do with them.
That was a little bizarre. Their equip spells are fairly devastating, though.
Even with their restrictions, these guys pull their friends from that deck to get in on the action. Javelin is a little unwieldy, but Brandistock can make an extremely dangerous monster. A 2K plus monster that can attack twice is really scary. More Flying Kamakiri would serve the deck better, but we have 2 masked dragons instead, which only hits half the deck.
The deck still is better equipped to abuse creature swap than Marek's deck is, but I think the Dragoonities lack interesting techniques to catch the opponent off guard, and their field spell requires them to constantly pitch cards into the grave. Can be a good thing, since this deck also does the graveyard as a second-hand bit.
This deck is also unusually vulnerable to Book of Moon, considering its reliance on equips.
The boss monsters of this deck all accelerate the deck. Primus Pilus will always be good unless your deck has run out of dragons. Mistletoe can just drop onto the field with a dragon equipped to it on turn 1. And Levaten, just like Machina Fortress, can summon itself from the hand or graveyard, making him extremely difficult to remove from the game.
And he's a dragon with a sword. It's a cool design.
Yes, it's a cool design. However, Machina Fortress is far more of a pest by comparison. Your opponent could lose hand advantage for having to use an effect on it, and if you punched over it, one of your monsters was going to the grave with it. Levaten requires you to banish something, and that can hurt.
His defense is a little easy to hit over. Look at that, Celtic Guardian. Another W you could actually get.
I think that's part of why Final Attack Orders is in this deck, to cover for the low defense monsters.
That's an all-or-nothing card. If you lose your lead, it's not going to be easy to get back. Think it should go above Rise of the Dragon Lords, in C tier. My deck would destroy it.
It does feel kind of incomplete without the synchros the deck was clearly made for. But I guess Pegasus just wanted you to buy the boosters, too. Still, for being as gutted as it is, it's not bad at working with itself. I think it's a solid B-tier deck.
You just put it there because the boss monster is a dragon holding a sword. Cool art, but the deck is about as unsolid as it gets.
I hate to agree with Wheeler, again. Dragon Ravine did open up some interesting options for anyone with a dragon deck, but due to its ability to easily dip into the graveyard, it does mean the limited copies of certain cards won't be as much an issue. Even if it lacks negates, it's going to play consistently, and I think we all know how powerful consistency is.
I'm really not in love with the deck. It has the same problem as Dragon's Roar, but the weakness isn't as potent. You only have a few options when playing from behind. Mirror Force is a big deal, as is Icarus Attack, Spiritual Wind Art, and Bottomless Trap Hole. Final Attack Orders is there to cover the fact that every monster in this deck has awful defense. Consider the following. 1700 defense is as high as this deck gets naturally, and that's with Armed Dragon level 5. It's another thing that makes Book of Moon ridiculously effective against it. In addition to blocking equip effects and cards, their defense can't even match the Mystical Elf. Synchros would have elevated this deck, and we'll see Pegasus eventually start including them, but their absence is felt strongly when this deck was clearly made with them in mind. C tier, under Spellcaster's judgment. Kaiba, let's do this!
We'll talk later. Get ready for Duel Academy. Alright, I'm here. So no changes this time, right?
Let's move Marek's deck up into B tier, above Dragoonities.
No!
Disagree that it goes above Dragoonities, but I'll agree with B.
It'd average out up there if I vote high enough.
Whatever, bottom of B tier.
His structure deck had a lot of good cards. Good field spell with the deck, good archetype. B tier below Dragoonities I don't think is a stretch.
Yeah, B tier, who cares? We're done with Marek and onto Lost Sanctuary.
I want to say we're hitting the era where Pegasus actually started making consistently good structure decks.
As long as you bought 3. Some of these still have problems out of the box.
Agents are back and better than ever.
The need to buy multiples are also increasing. It has both recruiters from Surge of Radiance, but only one of each.
Even so, this deck is going to be tough for a lot of the previous structure decks to contend with. You got cards like Honest. Look at this guy. Win 90% of battles with any monster, and your opponent has to guess you have it in your hand. And if they know you have it in your hand, you need to be running a counter trap if you want to do anything about his effect.
Honest is versatile. Searchable with a powerful effect, can leave the field whenever he feels like it. I almost considered running him on the rare occasion my Blue Eyes has to face down a stronger monster, or to stop someone who tries to run over my XYZs, or Kaiser Seahorse.
This deck is strong, and there's a few ways you could take it if you wanted to build off 3 decks. You could go beat down with Solidarity Fairies, run more negates with Sanctuary in the Sky, burn fairies, or different dimension fairies.
The mystical shine balls kinda suck here, especially since only one shine ball comes with the deck, and we're still not to link summoning yet.
Saturn, Mars, and Athena all kind of work on helping each other in one way. Serenity really likes Athena, says she reminds her of you, Mai.
Ah, your sister is adorable.
Yugi looks like he wants to say something.
So, Victoria, right? Victoria is great.
Do you like the art?
It is good art, but it's the monster effect that counts.
A little niche, ain't it?
Nah, synchros were popular at the time, and a lot of them were splashable dragons. Victoria could just scoop them up out of the grave and put them on your side.
The deck is just built to throw combos left and right. Athena, Saturn, and Mars work together very well. Miraculous Descent combos off of Soul of Purity and Light and Hyperion's summoning conditions.
Master Hyperion is truly a powerful boss monster. Easy summoning condition, decent stats. Solidarity will put him at 3,500. His destruction effect can target anything on the field, and that effect can even upgrade to twice a turn. Valhalla also prevents the high-level monsters from bricking your hand.
I see no reason not to put this in S. I don't think there's a deck on this list so far that has a great matchup against it. It's a great base deck to build off and amazing when you buy 3.
Strong boss monster. Some of the deck's power is lost without its field spell, but it's built in such a way that you're going to play it more often than not. It could easily go toe-to-toe with Dark Emperor. I have no issues with it going into S tier.
It's a good platform to start with, but some cards are going to be very conditional. Hanawada and Consecrated Light, for example. Though if Consecrated Light is relevant, it'll be really relevant. Mausoleum not only gives your opponent the option to summon high-level monsters, but also works against cards like Saturn and Mars. And some cards will be weaker on the opening hand. I'm debating between A or S.
It's going into S even if you say A, and I think it's earned that spot.
S tier it is, but how long will it keep the top spot?
The next deck is going to give it some competition. Gates of the Underworld.
I was confused when we dueled those two at Six Flags. I could swear one of them told me they ran this deck, but then it was just Destiny Heroes and Cyber Dragon.
Confusion tied in with Dark World. How fitting.
I've dealt with so many ruling misunderstandings facing these decks. It's a strong deck that can swarm like my harpies can, but a nightmare with how awkwardly Pegasus wrote the effects.
Why don't I get to summon Gold? I used Magic Jammer to discard him.
It has a lot of destruction effects, which can make it keep advantage, or at least go even with your opponents.
You must like the deck. Grapha can steal monsters, you know, as long as your opponent makes you discard.
And if you happen to hit the right card in their hand.
Wait, what? Thought it hit the field.
Nope. Strange that you would think that. Almost like it may have influenced things recently.
Tragodia! That can steal monsters too.
It can, but both effects are dependent on other outside factors.
There's a lot of levels in the deck to make it easy to hit.
Yes, but pay attention, Joey. This deck does a lot of discarding, and it doesn't always replace what it discards. Tragodia is bound to be weak, and using his effect also weakens him further. I appreciate the effect, I do. It's just not a good, reliable steal option. It does have Mind Crush, though, and that's neat.
Shame how many cards require your opponent to make you discard a card.
Dark Deal fixes that.
Wait, how does that work?
You change the effect on their magic card.
But that's the Dark World player's effect that changed it, not the opponent.
By technicality, nope.
This game sometimes, man.
Grapha is good, but the rest of his fellow bosses are underwhelming. While Gold and Silva can hit the field with little difficulty, we're reaching a time where hitting over 2,300 on your first turn isn't difficult. This deck has limited ways to actually counter your opponent.
Battle Fade is a fun trick. I don't think their core monsters are really all that exciting, though. And if you get one of those opening hands that lacks a discard effect, the deck really isn't going to feel very special at the start.
Dodging all those effects is theoretically hard to do.
Yes, isn't it, Joey? Why, look at the odds. Let's count them together, even.
We don't gotta...
Brawn, Gates of Dark World Lightning, Dark World Dealings, Card Destruction, Dark Scheme.
Scheme sucks.
I'm counting. Mind Crush if you fail. Dark Deal. So, 8.
Scheme still sucks. Your opponent can negate if they want to, and if they chain themselves down under 2 cards, the effect won't resolve. It's only going to happen if your opponent wants it to. The deck's biggest saving grace are the virus cards.
Out of the box, it has a lot of sorry we were greedy cards.
With how common destruction effects we're getting, baiting your opponent into destroying a card like the Forces of Darkness wasn't as big of a deal as it used to be.
Field Spell was top-notch for Dark World, at least.
It's A tier. It needs retooling to really shine, and out of the box have a lot of cards that aren't great.
It wins hard if it gets the right momentum, but if it runs face first into a brick wall, it has a hard time coming back from it.
What's up, Yug?
I think it's time we demoted Fury from the deep. At this stage, it's too slow to keep up with a lot of these decks. Box to box, it's just been power crept.
It could still pull out wins.
It's not impossible, but it's still going to struggle. No, I think it's accurate to demote Fury from the deep down to A.
I don't know. I still think the deck's core ain't as great as it was made out to be. Those odds of drawing into discard effects seems kinda low to me. Not something I'd bet on.
You've bet on some really awful odds before.
The odds to draw the gimmick of the deck ain't acceptable odds, Yug. Sorry. I honestly think a lot of the B decks would be an even match for it. I'll say B.
It's an A, Joey. A lot of decks don't deal well with a swarm raining on their head.
Yeah, the forecast on that isn't exactly reliable. I'm sticking with B.
Mid-A, then.
I don't really see Fury from the deep keeping up, but I could see Surge of Radiance and Zombie Madness giving some problems. Dark World might even proc Despair's summoning effect.
Next we have Dragons Collide.
Isn't that the one with blue eyes and red eyes in it?
A dragon deck hampered by trying to shoehorn Red Eyes into it.
Sorry! How many of those Blue Eyes cards got put on ban lists? Darkness Metal Dragon pulls far more weight than any of the Blue Eyes cards.
Oh great, they're colliding over opinions, again.
I'm amazed you three have gotten this far into the tier list without killing each other.
What?
Whitestone makes it so you have a Blue Eyes on demand, and you'll go card neutral on discard costs.
My, did we just
what?
How much did you pay to get
Blue Eyes Jet Dragon made anyway?
What?
Huh?
Are you reading the same deck list we are? I paid a couple million for Jet Dragon to be made. Big deal.
Deck just didn't feel complete without your personal jet, huh?
And Kaiba Man
A
is...
wonderful gift from his brother.
Yeah, it's... What?
I spent some of my money on my brother's birthday, so he could have another way to summon his blue eyes.
You're a good kid, Mokuba.
Today, Joey Wheeler stars as Elemental Hero, Captain Obvious.
Oh, shove it, Kaiba.
Yes, Darkness Metal is a good Red Eyes card, and Blue Eyes does team up well with it.
Just like the two of you.
I'd team well with anyone just by virtue of having me on their team.
This deck can do some nasty swarming too. Vice Dragon, banish it of Darkness Metal. Summon Blue Eyes. Charge of the Light Brigade could drop a light and dark in the grave for the Chaos Monsters. Or Dark Armed Dragon could drop. Still got a strong chance to settle in Brick City, though.
There's a lot of options to build this deck from, though. Like Lost Sanctuary. If you draw right, this deck will OTK even out of the box. It has a strong graveyard control. Strong staples, too.
Hand on this deck is going to explode, but with all the floaters it's got, I think it has a decent chance of making recoveries.
It does. There's a reason why many decks were built off this structure deck. It's S tier. Out of the box, probably behind Dark Emperor.
You think? It's got some options to use Banish Monsters.
It does, but it requires monsters actually hitting the graveyard first. If Dark Emperor stops that, this deck won't play well. It's not as thoroughly destroyed as the lower tier decks, but it's going to have problems if it goes second and Dark Emperor kills the graveyard.
It's S tier, I think, above Dark Emperor. Most of its monsters will run over Dark Emperor, and Darkness Metal and Blue Eyes won't be stopped by the graveyard not existing. Oh yeah, and the deck has Snipe Hunter, easy S.
This is where you'd get an F on the show your work portion of getting the right answer.
You're not qualified to be a teacher, Kaiba. What about you, Yugi? You've been quiet.
A tier. Too much specific support out of the box. It'll brick sometimes, but it's still strong.
Dat it? Not gonna talk about any specific cards you liked? Disliked?
Glad Chaos Sorcerer still has a job, and Dark Armed Dragon is busted. What about you, Mai?
I think the dragon experts have it covered here. Dragons just happen to be in my deck, but it isn't a dragon deck.
You sure you don't want to say something?
Let me see the deck list.
Here you go.
Oh, I remember this better than I thought I did. Chaos Zone is going to require a lot of effort to use on anything worthwhile. Lack of magic and trap removal is going to hurt too against any deck that wants to stall you. Your only hope is Dark-Armed Dragon or Wingbeat.
Snipe Hunter 2!
Yes, Snipe Hunter 2. I'm with Yugi. I think it's more A material out of the box.
While your opinion is noted, it's going to muddy up our tier list if we let the guests change it.
Suit yourself.
Sorry, Mai, but I disagree here. Into S tier it goes.
This brings us to Samurai Warlords.
I'm taking the lead on this one, and I want to applaud Pegasus for finally letting a structure deck come with an extra deck monster.
They should have been included by Dragoonides, but better late than never.
Playing this deck is like watching one of those Saturday morning superhero shows, except they're all cool samurai. How will they team up to defeat?
Birds on vacation?
All right. I don't know if this deck is ready to tackle birds going on vacations, but it could fight against a lot of the decks that were out at the time. Can they repel an army of fiends? A horde of dragons?
No.
Find out. Also, hey, depends on the dragon. Now, this group has a good core base. Deck has good control, good swarm, and has a few methods to replenish the hand. It's a warrior toolbox, one that'll rarely leave you unprepared.
I can't say I find the Xyz monster especially thrilling. 2,000 attack is a joke at this point.
Yeah, but if you combine it with Kageki, that'll shove him to 3,500.
That's right.
The fact that it swarms from the deck and has good draw cards does make it a reliable swarming strategy. You won't be running your hand into the ground.
Fiendish Chain is a good card for dealing with problematic monsters. And while it does only have one negate, Great Shogun Shien does have a floodgate effect on magic and traps.
They have the option to save their friends too by sacrificing themselves. It's really hard to find fault with the deck.
While they are a toolbox, they'll struggle with beatdown decks. Kageki may get up to 3,500, but it won't last forever. 2,500 isn't difficult to punch over these days. This deck does come with Darkhole, but it may not be a strong option if you want to keep a strong board. I think they'd still struggle with the likes of Zombie Madness or any deck that banishes.
Isn't that a bit unfair? Most decks struggle when they get banished.
You either have a plan to play around being banished, you do enough damage in one turn that it doesn't matter, or you play a strat that doesn't care about being banished. All these destruction redirections mean nothing in the face of being banished.
You think the average top deck challenge should change?
At this point, absolutely. Raise the amount of attack you have to deal with to 2,700 and a targeted destruction effect.
That's a lot tougher.
The monsters are a lot tougher.
That makes it a lot harder to come back from.
It's called a challenge for a reason, Wheeler.
I know what a challenge is. I take a patience challenge anytime I have to listen to you talk.
It's A tier. It has solid fundamentals but lacks the more standout mechanics such as banishing. And it lets your opponent play the game too much.
It's an S tier deck, man. It's got a good story, theme, and gameplay style.
That's because you enjoy the aspect of teaming up with other dweebs. I do not.
Help out here, Yug.
What exactly are you looking at?
Thought I saw a duel going on outside.
Stop the presses. That doesn't happen around Domino. Ever.
What do you think of Samurai Warlords?
Shien's Floodgate and Rivalry of Warlords both can severely hinder an opponent depending on the type of deck they run B tier.
What, B?
That averages into A.
You just mad or what?
Joey, why would I be mad? Maybe if some outside force exerted its influence on fate, that might be cause for—
Hey, Mai, what do you think of Samurai Warlords?
B tier. Kicks butt but doesn't look as good while doing it.
Hey, they look cool.
It's going into A, and we're on Realm of the Sea Emperor.
Wonder what Mako Tsunami thought of this deck.
Thought highly of it. We may have just kicked Fury from the deep down. But while the Sea Emperor deck is not the giant that Fury from the deep was, this is a decent successor.
Legendary Ocean turns a lot of D's guys into level 3s, which makes them work with the rest of the deck, like letting your whole field attack directly. Shame Poseidra isn't impressive. 3 tributes? Come on.
It may not be a god card, but with Poseidra, you can tribute those monsters to also summon it from the grave, and tributing them to the graveyard counts as an effect. This means you could summon this monster and get different effects each time. Dragoons restocks your hand. Marksman destroys a set card.
Oh yeah, look at that.
What?
Guess you didn't know either.
This deck also could swarm the field, and it bounces cards. Setting your opponent back can be really effective at unbalancing them, mentally or physically.
Yugi?
It's B tier, no ways to steal monsters, boo. But it has some graveyard effects like Friller Rabka, so that's cool. I'll be right back.
What is his problem today?
Where do you put Sea Emperor?
It goes in A. I'm just not sure where yet. Spiritual water art lets you look at your opponent's hand, and that alone can be game-changing.
Cauterus is a mini Daedalus. I don't know. I think this goes above Fury from the Deep.
It just has an easier time doing all of the things Fury from the Deep wants to do. I don't disagree. Into A it goes.
We're starting with Onslaught of the Fire Kings.
Ah, S tier, clearly. I've had to listen to Jaden go on about Blaze of Destruction being S tier for a while now. That was a joke.
Never do stand up.
I mean, Onslaught ain't bad. It's got a lot more going for it than Blaze of Destruction did.
Not a high bar to clear. It's also not nearly as burn-focused as Blaze was.
I personally think it's too busy out of the box.
I don't know. It seems to be full of monsters that either show up when you beat their friends up or self-revive if you catch them with a card effect.
The deck does a lot of special summoning.
I don't know why Raging Flame Sprite still has a job. It was too slow even on debut. At this stage in the game, the other structure decks are so much more consistent, this card is practically a meme.
It was always a meme.
Little Chimera pulls more weight than last time at least, given the deck's ability to constantly fill the field, unlike the much slower Blaze of Destruction.
It's too slow still. Your opponent should be rethinking their strategies when your boss monster shows up. But 2700 attack isn't especially difficult to deal with anymore.
Agreed. It has the Felgrand effect of not being useful the first time it hits the field.
And even Felgrand had higher attack at least.
Now hold on. Let's not ignore some of the combos here, especially with Garunix. Circle of the Fire Kings can destroy it for you, so it revives and pops all your opponent's monsters. Onslaught will also just pull Garunix out and destroys it so it comes back next turn.
Rekindling is potentially a game ender too, depending on how many friends are in the grave.
You mean gone missing?
Ha ha!
The deck has decent control. I think it's far better at doing what Blaze of Destruction set out to do.
Blaze wanted to be a burn deck. This deck largely does better because it ditched most of the bad burn cards.
This still burns.
It does, but some of its cards don't work with the intended strategy. Spiritual Fire Art. Kurenai tributes your monster and doesn't destroy it with card effects.
Backfire does trigger more often, though, since you destroy your own cards.
Listen to yourself. You destroy your own cards a lot, and you're usually replenishing from the hand. That hand is going to run dry sooner rather than later.
I remember someone ran a strategy that made them go -3 for quite a while. Think he was trying to make an ultimate dragon or something, and it never worked.
Shut up, Yugi!
Neo Flamvel Saber also gets worse with age. As decks get more consistent, more cards wind up in the graveyard in early turns. This deck just crumbles to high attack more often than not. And an opponent that focuses on banishing takes away most of this deck's power with 1 or 2 cards.
Burden helps with the low attack problem.
One copy,
What is it?
Do we finally add an E tier?
We'd have to move more things around, but I do agree it is getting a little crowded.
I'm adding E tier. Lightning round on adjustments. Go!
Obviously, Curse of Darkness falls to E.
Agreed.
Blaze joins it.
Agreed.
Jaden must have made a really compelling argument.
I guess when we're comparing it to the competition, yes, it's E.
All of C tier should just drop to D.
Should it, though? I still think the Warriors and Red Eyes have a shot.
Against the competition, they'd struggle. Even Spellcaster's judgment.
Here's where we split the things. I do think some things in B should still stay.
Why is Dinosaur's Rage still in B?
Because Kaiba is all...
Big numbers go brrr.
That.
Let's not forget it still has some powerful regular monsters.
I think it's C.
I'd lobby for D, really.
Some of its cards aged well. C tier, perhaps.
Fine, it's C.
Machine Revolt should join it. You're all biased.
Zombie World should be C.
I can agree with that. So should Dragunides.
Oh, man, you think?
Even with its lack of synchro, it isn't bad.
It's C tier material against the rest of these decks. But the top of it...
Agreed.
We'll move it to top of C. Merrick should go with it.
Gravekeepers are good.
Gravekeepers are. His Frankenstein burn deck isn't.
Yeah, move it down.
Thanks for the pizza, dweeb. One more should drop to C. Not Machina, though.
Agreed.
Bunch of machine freaks over here. Phoenix Gearfried belongs in B. Just saying.
So does Endymion. Really think we should just move Machine Revolt down? I think it's just far outpaced. Not to mention some of its better cards are banned at this point.
Yeah, I'll move it down. Anything in SRA we also want to move down.
I think we move Surge of Radiance into B. It's just been outpaced, I think.
Sorry, Serenity.
Now where does Fire Kings go, officially?
Best odds it should get is under Machina in B tier. But I think it should go under Machine Revolt.
It has good options for dealing with stronger monsters and decent control. I think it should go A, at the bottom of it.
It's a deck good at backing up its monsters. Usually when they leave the field, something happens. I think bottom of A works for it.
The Dweeb Patrol continues to be far too generous. I think it goes above Warrior Strike. Anything else is wishful thinking.
What a surprise! Kaiba underrates a deck because Joey Wheeler likes it.
Next is us arguing with Kaiba about how this next deck isn't very good.
Oh, Saga of Blue Eyes White Dragon? So, let's hear it.
If I had the time, I would rip up every one of these decks, except for the good Blue Eyes support.
Not the answer I expected.
This is what happens when someone unskilled in dual monsters tries to build a Blue Eyes deck.
I think he just wanted to sell more structures. Why bother with Rabby Dragon at all, unless you just want to make someone buy another?
Pegasus even put Wheeler's Kunai with Chain in this deck for some reason.
Which improves it, I might add.
This deck has bad recovery options. Most cards need another card as cost. Divine Dragon Apocryph and Herald of Creation, for instance. And Trade-In only has 3 targets, in a deck that will likely dump the level 8s in the graveyard. Damage Condenser and 1-for-1 won't replenish your hand either, so if those plays didn't get you ahead, it's probably never happening. Also, Kaiser Glider is a meme. Don't at me.
Dragonic Tactics and White Elephant's Gift also want you to ditch field monsters when this deck already doesn't summon swiftly as it is. If you can get legally distinct Blue Eyes out, that changes.
Azure Eyes is a good addition. Timing its summon properly got you around all kinds of problems with its prolonged destruction prevention of dragons.
It's going to have problems with anything that summons faster or negates its few precious summons. I think it gets B tier at best, but I think it's around Machine Revolt at the top of C.
The combos are lacking.
No, they aren't. Dragon Shrine opened the door for Blue Eyes decks to really gain control of their graveyard. Even in this pathetic excuse for a Blue Eyes deck, you could throw Whitestone to the grave and the worthless Rabby Dragon while getting Blue Eyes to your hand. Or if you had Silver's Cry, you could throw a Blue Eyes in the grave to surprise pull it back later for a surprise high damage play, especially if you're holding Honest. Rider of the Stormwinds gives piercing to Blue Eyes, which is always a bad time for your opponent.
Dragon Shrine was fun for Red Eyes decks, too.
Hieratic Dragon of Tefnuit at least makes good use of Wingbeat of a giant dragon.
Too many cards require Blue Eyes, which for some reason is just a one-off in this deck.
How much support did you run for your one Dark Magician again?
Look at the cover. Saga of Blue Eyes, White Dragon, singular.
Look who graduated 5th grade English.
I put Saga of literally one Blue Eyes White Dragon in C tier, the top of it. It has a good synchro and a few ways to make it.
Honest is cool for being tricky. Almost every monster in the deck is light. Hand traps still weren't as common as they are today, so having Honest was a nice surprise. And look, Kaiba Man is in it. How cool. B tier.
That's what makes this especially difficult to rank. Pegasus constructed it poorly on purpose, but it did have good cards in it. If this was the first Blue Eyes deck I could have ever had, I'd be disappointed. Middle of B tier is my vote.
So does it go in B or C?
It's got that card Mokuba made. That's worth a rank bump.
This is so manipulative. Fine, bottom of B tier.
Next up is Cyber Dragon Revolution.
Ah, that deck.
You sound about as excited as Kaiba did for Saga of One Blue Eyes White Dragon.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how revolutionary was the deck?
When you play a deck so long, it's difficult to watch someone else put together a deck and make strange mistakes. It gave some good options, but as a deck on its own, not very revolutionary. A 5.
This deck also looks like it suffers from the low attack problem.
It has a few answers to that. Cyber Dragon Nova can boost its attack to 4,200. Megamorph if you're behind in life points. There's limiter removal and power bond. I am shaking my head the fact Pegasus made me poach Jaden's polymerization. I'm not sure why the deck thought it needed 2 fusion cards, when there's already a few ways to bring Cyber Twin Dragon out. And if you trip any one of those power bond and super polymerization become bricks.
3 of a kind looks difficult to pull off. You don't want to wait around long, and while getting 2 Cyber Dragons on the field isn't difficult, you'll usually want to combine them through Exceeds or Fusion. And the ones that borrow Cyber Dragon's name are easy kills.
I just want to point out it runs 4 continuous cards in an equip spell.
2 equips.
Then also runs Malevolent Catastrophe.
In spite of all these problems, Cyber Dragon Core gives good control and options. Cyber Eltanin is a good surprise attack, and the deck still has the OTK potential I've come to enjoy. It's just really inconsistent.
Satellite cannon. I remember you. Good meme. C tier.
There are a lot of fun combos in the deck, most revolving around Cyber Dragon Nova and Cyber Twin Dragon. But I think the deck doesn't recover if you beat those 2 monsters. Eltanin might be able to give you a second chance, but it depends on how many monsters are in your grave by the time you have to resort to it. It doesn't have many ways to deal with monsters other than just punching them. D-Prison is good. Cybernetic hidden technology. You still have to destroy a Cyber Dragon-like card to use it. Bottom of B tier.
Let's not pretend this deck is less consistent than Saga of One Blue Eyes.
There's a lot of real weak monsters in the deck, which I don't have a problem with by itself. But there's very little support for actually helping them hold their own. Armored Cybern is cool. Always a fan of cards helping each other. And hey, Reflect Bounder. Good meme.
It's a good card.
I know. But I managed to make Esperoba defeat himself with this card as the target. That, and I've never really enjoyed OTK strategies. Playing against them, playing them. I just feel like a good time got robbed either way. So if this deck does well, it's over too fast. And if it doesn't get going, it's over too fast. I'm gonna say bottom of B tier as well.
It should be high B. It'll contend with every deck in B tier easily, and good chance it takes on many of the A tiers as well. The only ones I can see it struggling with are the S tiers.
Too inconsistent out of the box for my liking.
It's going to the bottom of B tier.
Do you smell that? That's the smell of bias winning the day.
I hear a lot of tears.
This entire list is biased. Maybe we just think Cyber Dragon Revolution is a little more mid than you do.
Maybe I should take Jaden up on his offer to do our own tier list.
If we want to talk about consistency, though, here's Realm of Light, who I only ever saw that Damien guy pilot.
He had a lot of cards that were not in this deck, like that Solaristics crap.
According to Ishizu, he won a local tournament with this deck and then developed a god complex.
That tracks. This was constructed with a level of synergy just not often seen in structure decks. I bet it could make anyone feel like a dueling god.
Pegasus wanted to make a deck that literally anyone could pick up and win a small-time tournament with. And unlike Cyber Revolution, this deck could keep the hits coming for longer.
The only real problem I see, and it was a weakness baked into the Lightsworn, is you might deck out very early if you can't get the kill, but...
Good chance you got the kill. This deck required barely any spin-up. Graganeth looks like it would take time to get powerful, but with how often you mill your own cards into the grave, it wouldn't be uncommon to be facing down this monster with over 3,000 attack in the first turn or two.
And the boss monster. Who?
Oh yeah, come in.
This is my office, Wheeler. You can't just invite...
Are you guys doing that structure deck thing?
Yeah, and look.
Realm of Light. Heard this deck was a terror and, oh yeah, Zephyros was in this deck. Is this why you invited me up?
Pretty sure this is like the one time a Blackwing is appearing in the structure deck list. Not unless we start diving into the digital realm.
There's not a whole lot Blackwing related to say here. He's just being splashed into the deck. He's going to make making the synchro a whole lot easier. He'll allow you to reuse a few cards if the duel lasts long enough. Like if you manage to flip Raikou. But I'm used to people poaching Blackwings for other decks. They're strong, I get it.
It's difficult not to respect this deck. It has good kill power.
Judgment Dragon is a fantastic boss monster. Wipe the board in strong attack? It's difficult to find fault with it.
The deck has really good control with Beckoning Light, charge of the Light Brigade, and even an option to kick things back to your opponent's deck instead of the graveyard. And very few decks enjoyed having their stuff kicked back into the deck.
Honest is here again. I don't know if he's as needed as he was in the Blue Eyes deck, but
It could lead to some early wins if your opponent walks into a strong enough monster. Strong chance for a turn 3 or 4 victory.
yeah. And look at the monster balance. 27 monsters, 7 spells, 6 traps. You're rarely going to brick.
The Synchro is nothing to scoff at either. A banish that can hit any card on the field. Attack is on the lower side, but the field spell Realm of Light potentially solves that.
It's really hard to spot a flaw with this one.
Other than just, there are better choices out there for some cards. I agree. This is an S-tier deck. It's going to win against most of these decks a majority of the time, even in S-tier.
Dark Emperor could potentially be a problem for them, depending on what they draw. But I do agree. S-tier, the top of it.
I think Light Ray Daedalus and Diabolus might cause some issues if drawn on the first turn, especially together. But it'd be overkill to say it'd happen a majority of the time. S-tier.
It just does what most of the decks on this tier list do, but better. Outside of a few niche strategies like Dark Emperor, who still banishes better than everyone else, I do agree. Realm of Light deserves the top spot. High attack, good removal options, and decent control.
I don't think I'm officially here to weigh in, but yeah. S tier as well. It sure sounds like it was, but I personally didn't live through that meta. If that's all for the, Blackwing expert, I have some stuff to get back to.
Nah, that's it.
All right, later. Thanks for having me.
You weren't invited!
You don't think he wouldn't be valuable to listen to? Seeing as he's from the future.
Who cares? Giargiana Rampage is next.
This deck is interesting. A lot of potential with extra copies. It wants to spam making rank 4 monsters. But it only has 1 rank 4 in the actual deck.
The gadgets are back with ancient gears again.
Pegasus be like, name a more iconic duo.
There are literally thousands of more iconic duos.
Much as I appreciate the gadgets, and they do still help keep hand advantage while thinning your deck without any support, they're going to require your opponent to have a slow turn.
Even just looking at the decks in B tier, most of them would apply too much pressure for this deck to handle.
The boss monster leaves a lot to be desired. For all the effort required to get him on the field, his attack is pitiful. His effect could be a lifesaver if you're fighting monsters with annoying effects, though.
The deck almost seems more interested in getting Gadgetron Dragon out, given Geartown has 2 copies in this deck with terraforming. It just can't fully commit, and it's going to take forever to defeat your opponent. I say, it belongs in C.
That's a bad take. The monsters in this deck are so good at supporting each other. They help pulling each other into the field or hand. Part of the reason why the deck is so good at keeping hand advantage. And limiter removal, when you got a bunch of them, could very well make them go lethal unexpectedly.
Except most of their abilities summon them in defense mode, so your windows for that win condition are limited.
Also, Gear Gigant X, one of the Xyz monsters, isn't even considered a Gear Gia card, despite directly supporting them. So that's less synergy.
What the? Why though?
Because Pegasus hates when others have fun. Throw it in C tier.
He literally designed the game.
Yeah?
That you play daily.
For profit, Yugi. He made it for profit.
You're so joyless sometimes.
Most times. Anyway, I see this deck putting up a better fight than that. I think it's a solid A-tier deck. Top of it.
The skeleton of a good deck is here, but the reality of it on its own.
It's got creature swap and 2 giant rats.
You know, eventually, decks have to try harder to impress me than just running creature swap plus searcher. I think the most generous I can give it is B tier, under Fire Kings.
I think you're giving too much credit to pathetic strategies, but what else is new?